Hey, it's Dave Dolphin at practicalworshipblog.com. Today, I want to talk about using rechargeable batteries in church and specifically giving a product review of the Ansmann rechargeable batteries. The reason why we made this switch about 3 or 4 years ago, one, I just felt really weird about all the batteries that we were throwing away, just the normal Duracells and Energizers that we had. Not that I'm this tremendously green person, but it did bug me how much we were throwing these away week after week after week. There had to be a better way. And also from a cost standpoint, even if we had to make a larger initial upfront cost with chargers and the fact that rechargeables generally are more expensive than their counterparts, even if we made that upfront purchase, would it pay for itself over a long period and eventually become less money over a couple of years? And that's exactly what happened. Now, if you're thinking about switching to rechargeable batteries for your church service and for your situation, the thing to keep in mind is that not all rechargeable batteries are created equal. You cannot go down to Walmart and just get anything that's off the shelf for two reasons. One is that you need something that is designed for electronics and for pro gear. Whatever voltage they're rated for, you want something that it keeps that voltage and then all of a sudden drops off and just dies. Versus something that you might find at Walmart, it's a little bit more consumer grade, they're going to taper off on their voltage. And if you got a flashlight, that's fine. But if you've got a wireless microphone like this, any kind of pro gear electronics, they really don't like it when the voltage changes on them. They want something that maintains a certain voltage, and then when at the very last second, when it can't give any more, then it dies. The other thing you got to think about is how many times can you recharge that battery before it's done? You got to think about cycles. Every time you put it in a charger, that's a cycle, and different batteries are rated for different amounts of cycles. So in our situation, we have several of these. We have wireless microphones for the singers. We also have several of these in-ear packs for those same singers. And then we have a few of these that we use for guitars. We also use these same packs, same kind of packs for our speakers, people giving the message and announcements and things like that. And I was listening to the podcast Church Tech Weekly, and one of the sponsors on there is Horizon Battery. You can check them out at horizonbattery.com. And I got on the phone with a guy named David, and he took a lot of time to really understand our situation and what our needs were. And he recommended that we get one of these starter packs, one of these bundles, where it came with the charger, it came with the batteries, and it came with the AA's and also the 9 volts. And so we use these in our in-ear packs, and then for our speakers, for the guitars, and for the wireless mics, we use these AA's. Now for the wireless microphones and for the speakers, guitars, and all that, for those packs, we use AA's. These things last us about 8 hours. And so we can just put them in the microphones and put them in the tray, have them ready for the singers, and we don't worry about turning them off or anything, because with both our rehearsal process and our Sunday morning, we're not coming anywhere close to run times of 8 hours. So that's not a problem there. These 9 volts, however, only run for about 4 hours, and we use these in our in-ear packs. And so we just had to train our singers that when you're not using your in-ear packs, to turn them off. For example, we rehearse on Sunday morning at 8 o'clock. At 9:30, we have a Sunday school hour where it's a break, and then we have service at 10:45. And so we've trained our singers that during that Sunday school time, when you put it back in the tray, that you need to turn off your in-ear pack. When it comes to the wireless microphones, we don't care. We just leave them on, don't touch it, don't mess with it. That way it works. But for the in-ear packs that use these 9 volts, we just train our singers, and it's not a big deal. Now, like I mentioned earlier, when you're looking at rechargeable batteries, you have to look at their cycle life. How many cycles can you get out of the batteries? The first set that we bought only had about 300 cycles for both the AA's and for the 9 volts. And for our situation, we charge them on Thursdays for rehearsal day, and then also Sundays. So that's 2 cycles per week. Times 52 weeks is about 100 cycles a year. So 300 cycles was about 3 years. Well, the 3 years came up, and it was time to buy new ones. And so we bought these Max E Pros that are new, and they have on the AA's, they have a cycle life of 2,100 cycles. So in our situation, that's 21 years. On the 9 volts, these are rated for about 1,000 cycles. So that, and again, in our situation, is for 10 years. And so when we first bought them, I thought, from a cost standpoint, 3 years is, is pretty good. With this, 2100 cycles for the AA's and 1000 cycles for the 9 volts, complete game changer. I don't have to mess with this for over 1 or 2 decades. Now, in the 4 years that we have been using rechargeable batteries, I've had one battery fail on us. Now, it was on a Sunday morning. It was really unfortunate, but we got through it. Other than that, these batteries and these chargers have operated flawlessly for us. I would recommend about every 6 months or so, just on a Tuesday or some off day, load up all your gear with all the batteries, set a timer, and just let it sit and see how long it takes before that device shuts off on you. Because if they're not going to last for the rated time, if they're only going to last for 2 hours or whatever, you want to know that on a Tuesday when you can do something about it than on a Sunday. Now, the last thing I'll say about using rechargeable batteries in church, if you're thinking about doing that, you have to build a system. If you're not used to always pulling the batteries out of your wireless mics and just kind of going with the flow, that's not going to work. That's going to burn you. You have to have a system in place that these batteries get out of the devices when you're done with them and into the chargers. So if you're not an organized person, find someone who is and that can be in charge of this and make sure that the batteries come out of the devices in the chargers, plugged in every single time on a routine without fail. And so that's how we are using rechargeable batteries here at church, and a kind of a product review of the Ansmann rechargeable batteries. I do want to mention that this is not a paid endorsement. I'm not receiving any money for this. I just really like the product and the service. And when people ask us about our experience on how we got started using rechargeable batteries, this is the answer that we give them. Here at the Practical Worship blog, we love giving practical advice for the everyday worship leader, giving tips and tricks and ideas and things like that. So we provide videos just like this one every single week. If this has been helpful, we would love for you to hit that like button. That lets YouTube know that this information was helpful and gets that in front of more and more people. Also, consider subscribing to the channel. That way you know when new videos hit here at YouTube. And if you know someone that might benefit from this information, consider sharing this on social media, on Facebook and Twitter and things like that. We'd be honored if you would do that. And for more great practical advice about leading worship and the calling that you have, check out practicalworshipblog.com.